could talk about your adventure with your haunted house.
Okay. Which one? The one we built?
Yeah,
oh,
yeah, the
okay.
one you built. Which other?
Oh,
how many
okay.
haunted houses have you built, man? Hello and welcome to the Salty Sarge Podcast, a very special episode because it is Halloween.
Yeah.
It's a very spooky season, and it has been a spooky season indeed. I mean, right now we are dealing with about, 100-mile-an-hour winds outside.
Yeah, some storms coming in.
We got tornado warnings going on. It is spooky indeed here in Oklahoma. But we have had a great Halloween season. We've done a lot of work. We've worked with some good friends of ours. I want to do a special shout out to Third Reality, a friend of ours, Jayla. She does a lot of paranormal, scary stuff. So if you're into that thing, we'll put a link in there. Make sure you go check her out. She is awesome.
Yeah, it sounds awesome.
And she's very supportive of everything we do, and we appreciate it greatly. And I would also like to shout out the Salty Sarge himself. This one right here. Say hi.
Hey, everybody. How we doing? Welcome back.
Because the maniac he decided he wanted to build a haunted house this year.
I did. Yes.
And it wasn't just your typical, we're going to put some sheets up. We're going to drape some different ornament. No, he built a freaking haunted house, man.
That's right, on the property.
There's two different rooms. You got a big alien scene out in the back.
A spaceship. There's a spaceship.
Yeah, there's a I come home and he's working on like the 6-foot tall spaceship that he had built himself. I'm like, what the heck? And it was umbrellas. You just did it out of
yeah. And it looks. People are like, that looks like a real like a 1950s looking spaceship.
Yeah,
like that's so
straight
cool.
out of like
a UFO.
Black.
Yeah, it's like a UFO. So yeah, I was going for that, and I like to have a creative side too. So
yes.
And I love Halloween. Who doesn't love Halloween?
Yeah, everybody loves Halloween.
Yeah, I'm not a Satan worshiper. I just like Halloween.
Yeah, it's just a lot of fun. And we're here in the Salty Sarge Lounge. We got it all decorated up. There's skeletons, Michael Myers. We got all the lights and gadgets and gizmos. Everything's going, and we are in the mood.
That's right.
So, because we are in the mood, we are going to share with you some very, very frightening stories.
Absolutely.
Take it away, Mr. Salty Sarge.
Well, I want to start off with a funny story that someone told me, my father, who was a police officer and a supervisor, and he told me a story about a werewolf in Oklahoma. So, in the metro. So, one evening, he's a supervisor, and another officer had called him and said, "Hey, man, I got a problem." He's like, "What's up?" He goes, "Well, you just need to come over here." So, this guy had this guy on traffic. He had a trouble in a traffic stop, and this guy's chewed up pretty good. Like he doesn't look too good, and he's very intoxicated. So I guess at the time, this officer is a canine officer too, by the way. So what I mean by canine officer is he has like a little 4-legged, we call them fur missiles, right?
Yeah.
So, and they can be very vicious, okay? I want to put a caveat there. They're not friendly. And they don't know friend from foe, okay? So they don't know if you're a policeman or if you're a bad guy or just an average Joe citizen because they're not trained that way. They know their handler. And that's about it. So the handler goes up to the car and he's talking to this guy, and he comes back to his car. Well, I think his fur missile got out of the car somehow. So my dad goes over there, and the guy, it's considered an issue. Like this dog basically attacked this guy. Well, so my dad gets over there, and the guy is just some guy on a traffic stop. Okay, like he's not really. He just got pulled over, but he's intoxicated. Yeah. So he goes up there and he goes, "Sir," he goes, "Can you tell me what happened?" He goes, "Sir, just whatever you do not let that officer, turn him back into a werewolf." And he goes, "What?" And he goes, "Please, God, just don't let him turn into a werewolf." So, of course, my dad his humor is kind of like mine, which I kind of get that from him. But he was like, "Okay," and he kind of turned around and walked back. So he goes back, and of course he's laughing hysterically. And he goes, "Okay, what happened?" He goes, "Well, I walked up there, and I guess he hit a button on his belt, and when he came back, the door opened on the back. So the dog
came out the back. Oh.
But he didn't see the dog. He went around the backside. The officer comes back to his car. The dog comes around. He sits back down in his car, and he's like, fur missile, and he looks up, and that dog is all over this guy, attacking him right at his door, just getting him, and he's like, "Oh my god!" So he runs up there, grabs him. Of course, the guy, is just he's not chewed up too bad, but he's hurt, and of course, and so my dad went back up there again, and he was like, "Okay, sir, can you tell me what happened?" He's like, I don't know what I said, but that guy turned into a werewolf, and I don't want to get attacked ever again. And all it was just the canine officer just made a mistake, and the dog, he had signaled. Well, yeah. And the dog had ran up there and just attacked him.
But from his perspective, it's like, hey, this policeman just came up here.
Yeah, and he's like, hey,
and
buddy.
he turned into a freaking werewolf and then attacked me.
Yeah, it's like 2 seconds later. I mean, I can imagine just sitting in my car and you just look up and you're like, oh my God. And you're like, oh God. And you get up there and get that dog back. But that was the night that there was a werewolf running around. So yeah, and I don't know. So normally, like when you work in investigation, it's an investigation because this guy got hurt. And my dad said he put all that in the report, talking about how that he said he turned into a werewolf. And at that point, it's like, okay, we're good here, And I said, what happened to the guy? And he goes, well, we took him to jail, of course. I was like, oh God. So in jail, he's probably telling someone he got attacked by a werewolf too. I just wish I could have been there for that one because that happened a long time ago. But that officer's still around, and so he became a supervisor of mine down the road.
Really?
And the first time I saw him was for a day. It actually literally was for a day. And then he transferred. Day. Yeah, for one day they moved him. And he's standing there. He goes, well, I'm not going to be here long. And he looked at me and he's like, oh God, I know your dad. And I was like, yeah, okay. And then I tell him, I said, hey, you remember that werewolf story? And he kind of looked at me. He's like, we don't talk about the werewolf. So I just
ashamed.
Yeah, just like, oh man. But yeah, so there are some werewolves running around the city somewhere in the metro. But that was one funny story that I grew up with that was told, and actually got to meet the person that happened to. So besides the guy that went to jail, but anyway, but you never know when an officer's going to turn into a werewolf.
Yeah.
So, and I don't know if that was around Halloween or I don't know when that was, but you know what? Let's just say it was.
For the sake of the story, we're going to go.
It was Halloween. Yeah, it was a full moon, and it happened. But I do remember, another funny story where I went out to. There was a call at this. It's where the compass points north and east.
Yeah.
And when I worked over there at the metro area, and I do remember vaguely there's it's still there to this day, and it's an old building, and the guys are telling me it used to be a church of some kind or something, but when we get a call, there's these guys out there, and they said there's somebody inside there that scared them or something, and these are grown men, okay? Yeah. So we get there, and the kind of gear they're wearing, they look like they're like tactical operators, like it just didn't seem right, and you go around like, hey guys, what's up, and I'm standing there and I'm looking at that building like, I'm not going in there. Like, they're just kind of looking at me like, no, I mean, there's someone in there. I said, I don't care. Like, I'm not going in there. Like, that is very creepy. Like, look at that thing. And they're just standing. I'm like, why don't y'all go in there? Well, you're the cop. I was like, we're not going to argue about this. Like, I'm not going in there. They said, sir, someone's in there, And I go, what do you guys even do? And they're like, yeah, we train SWAT teams, we do paintball. And I'm thinking, you train SWAT teams? Like, okay, I've been around SWAT teams. I was like, yeah, right. So there's this one guy, and they all told me their names, and I remember this name vaguely because he's kind of a short guy, and he kind of had like dreadlock looking hair, like dreads, like the thick ones, like the real fluffy ones, And he's a white guy, and he goes, my name's Gambit, and I was like, oh, cool, like like the card guy, like Gambit, And he's like, yeah. And so then we go around the room.
No idea what you just said.
So we go around the room, and then we're like, we start talking to him, and then I go, so what do y'all do? And he goes, I work at Starbucks. I was like, oh, nice. All right, cool. Like,
and you train SWAT teams.
Yeah, and you train SWAT guys, and you're out here in the middle of the night looking at this creepy, freakishly looking building that you want me to go into because there's something that scared you. So about that time, other partners show up, and I'm just like, yeah, no, we should go check it out. I'm like, no, we shouldn't. We should not go check this out. Like, this is not a good idea. I'm not going nowhere near that building. I am shaking in my boots right now. It's just a creepy, like, stuff is falling in, and we get to the door, and I'm hearing noises, and you hear that wind blow, that creepy disease. And I'm just like, I'm not going in there. And they're just like looking like, damn, you're just being the biggest wuss about this. I'm like, it doesn't matter. Like, I don't care. And then my buddy goes, I'll give you a shotgun. I was like, okay, I'll go in there. He goes, I'll give you a shotgun with a light. So about that time, we get the shotgun with the light, because my shotgun didn't have a light on. I wasn't tactical like that.
Yeah.
So he's rigging it up. He's do this. We walk through the front door of the building, and we go in, and then we hear like these noises, and I stop. And they're like, come on, man, go. And I was like, and I'm trying to like, like, who's in here? And I rack it, and all of a sudden these two little heads pop up. It's us, sir. Don't shoot. Two little kids. I'm talking like teenagers.
Just chilling in this house, scaring the crap out of
everybody.
everybody.
And they get the little flashlights. And I said, y'all come out here. And they're like, no, we're not coming out. And I was like, come on out. You're going to shoot us. I'm like, we're not going to shoot anybody. And of course, I'm laughing at the grown men standing outside wearing all this tactical gear. Like, there's two little kids in there, and I'm kidding you not, they were teenagers, but they were young, like, 13, 12, 13-year-olds, okay? They come out, and they're like, yeah, we saw these guys, we ran in here, and we tried to scare them. I started laughing, they had little flashlights. I go, you guys are brave for going in there, like, I would have never went in there. So, as time progressed, like, we got done, I didn't have to go in all the way, thank God, because I was not about to. They said, we should go take a tour. I was like, no, we shouldn't. And then the guys start telling me stories about this old church and stuff. So I was like, there's no way I'm going in this creepy place anyway. So we come back. I remember I worked a side job at a big place where you shop, and you buy stuff.
Yeah.
In town, in the metro. And when I was there working, I'd walked up to Starbucks. And I said, hey, y'all guys got a guy here named Gambit? And he goes, yeah, oh my God, Gambit. Oh my God. What did he do now? And I was like, I don't know. I just saw him at the studio. He goes, he's a ghost hunter. I was like, what do you mean he's a ghost hunter? He's like, no, like he's like a legit ghost hunter. Like that's what him and his buddies do. And I said, he told us he trained SWAT teams and stuff. He goes, oh no, Gambit's a ghost hunter. And he was looking for ghosts in that building. He told us about, you found him over there. I go, why didn't he tell me he's a ghost hunter then? I mean, I would have been cool with that. I'd have been like, I probably would have been like, I definitely would have went in there for sure, because I'm not, I don't like that kind of stuff.
Yeah, we're definitely around ghost hunters in this neck of the woods.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and I was just like, just tell me about it, And at that time, maybe it wasn't like a thing. I don't know. I don't know why he wouldn't come forward about it, but that guy, I saw him in a commercial recently.
Really, a commercial for what?
Yeah, like a store. He owns some action figure store or something.
Well, good for
And
Gambit.
I think it's called Gambits. Like, I think that's what it's called.
Oh.
So, I mean, I saw it on like somebody's TV as like a local channel
local
thing.
channel, yeah.
But it looked pretty cool, and he still has the hair. Yeah, he's just a little bit older, a little bit grayer, but it still has the hair. But yeah, it turned out okay for him, and I was like, good for him. I kind of laughed. I instantly went back to that place. When I saw that, I was like, oh my gosh, like that dude was so funny whenever he was like, my name's Gambit. The way he kind of shook my hand, I was like, okay. Because everybody else is like, I'm Steve, I'm Billy, and I'm Gambit. And I'm like, all right, that's really your name? And
no, his real name's Gabe.
Yeah, probably. But I know inside that Starbucks, they never would give his real name. I think they said his name was like Mike or something. Like, no, that's Mike. That ain't really Gambit. Anyway, that was the wild night at that creepy building that's still there to this day.
Yeah. And
then further in town, we had this old school, and it's set on the hill. Now it's an apartment complex, a real fancy one. It was right in town, like right outside the outskirts of the metro downtown. And someone would call in and say, hey, there's like kids running around inside there or something. And we never went in there until my wife had convinced me. She said, hey, we should come check this out. So we build a call, and we go in there, and me and buddies, and it is a legit like 1900s old school building, and it has like a pool in it, and it would have made a perfect haunted house. Like if you could have had you could have just had like cast members just walking around. Yeah, you didn't have to do anything to it.
Yeah, you didn't.
I mean, just being there, like the atmosphere, the wind coming through it. Like every now and then you hear like a pigeon flutter. I mean, you're just like, what was that? And there's no electricity, so you're walking around. It's the middle of the night, and we look out. We're on like the third floor. I think it had like 5 floors, 3 or 4 floors, maybe 4. But we're looking down, and we see these cars pull up, right? And these like people get out of the cars, like, yeah, I bet there you go. You can hear them, and we're like, oh, buddy, here we go. We are going to scare these kids half to death. So it was a bunch of teenagers, and, and of course it was the wife's idea. So we get upstairs and we kind of go around the backside, and there was a place they would break in, and that's why we were there, was to run kids off. It was an abandoned building. I mean, I think the city owned it or somebody owned it. So this nosy neighbor would always call in on it, and that's why we'd go down there. But that was the one time we actually went in the building. And, you know, of course, the wife was like, you guys are really nervous about this. I mean, I had my hand on my gun the whole time. I mean, we're just all walking around flat. I mean, it was creepy, man.
Yeah.
So we get at the top and we come in, there's a stage area and like a theater. Mm-hmm. And there's a bunch of weird stuff laying around. Like there's like this really nice harmonica. And I'm like, where did that come from? Like that is so random. Just like stuff like that, there's randomness. I'm like, what is this? And then you would hear like stuff falling in the background. I mean, and that was when there's nobody in it.
Yeah.
So there probably was some spiritual things going on there. We had a rumor that somebody drowned in that pool and died. So
that what would cause a haunting.
What did we do? We decided, hey, we're going to go check this pool out. And that was the creepiest area ever. I was shaking in my boots at that point. But as a group, you know, we kind of went together and I kind of built a little bit of confidence there, you know, and you just kind of went with the group. But I would have done it by myself.
Yeah.
You could have paid me to stay overnight in that church, okay? Or that school. It wasn't going to happen. So about that time, those kids are coming in, and so we run down to the the backside of the theater area, and then we just kind of hang out in there, and you could see them coming in, you know, and they're just talking like, "What was that? What was that?" You know, like, "What was that?" And then we're just real quiet, and then we would run to the other side, and we'd throw stuff like at the wall or something and make a big noise, and you hear them go, and get real quiet. They're like, "Is somebody in here?" And so, and we're like, real quiet, you know. And I told them, I said, "Don't say anything." So then we came around the backside and then like we knocked something really big over, and dude, it scared the wife really bad. She was in the other room and she goes, "What was that?" And those kids, buddy, they didn't miss a beat. They ran out the stairs. You see them like jumping over the fences, running for their lives, throwing their crap. They had like booze and stuff. And I guess they're going to go there and drink. They're throwing blankets, and they get in those cars and they're peel out of there. Like we never saw them again. Yeah. We're like, oh, cool. Like this worked out.
Problem solved.
Yeah. I really wanted to go talk to them, be like, hey. And we were kind of waiting on like them to call the police or something. I mean, what would you say? Like, some ghost got me at the school or something?
Yeah, when I was breaking into.
I was breaking in there. I was trespassing.
I mean, people have told on themselves with like far more heinous crimes than that. So.
Oh, absolutely. And, you know, at that point, we would go down there frequently a lot. And just every time the wife rode, we'd go down there and check it out because there was always like a Friday night, especially around this time of year. Like October, November, they were always in there. And we would go in there and just kind of hide and try to scare them out. But we did that a lot, you know, while the city was being, you know, burglarized and robbed. And
priorities.
Yeah, all these cops are going in there like, hey, you know what, we'll worry about you here screwing on the radio. Be quiet. Like we're having fun right now. Yeah, so that sometimes happens. But, and then there was a place way out east where you had talked about it. What was it called again?
I've heard it referred to as the Purple Church. I don't know why.
I don't know what the significance about that, but it is kind of creepy out there. I will say that.
Yes.
We get a call, someone calling and saying there's a bunch of people like out there. Well, we get out there, there's no cars anywhere. Like there's no cars. And then we drive down the road and then we turn around and come back and all of a sudden like this dude just appears like in the road. And we're like, what's up, dude? And he's like, hey, where'd all these people go? And I'm like, what are you talking about? And then all of a sudden, like 30, 40 more people start coming out of the woods. They have no cars around, like 0 cars. We have no idea how they got there. And we're like, what are y'all doing out here? Like, well, there's this thing called the Purple Church, you know, it's got some creepy stuff. I'll like take us to it. So we end up walking out there in the middle of the woods, and there's like stick figures hanging in, like, you know, at the Blair Witch stuff, you know, in the trees. And I don't know how that crap got there, but did you look it up?
Yeah, I'm looking it up now. Go ahead.
But I don't know why it's called the Purple Church, but that was an odd night because we still to this day, I don't know where they parked. I don't even know if they're real people. I don't know. I just know this one guy acted so weird and it felt like I was talking to a ghost. I mean, it was just, he wouldn't answer a lot of the questions, you know, he just kept looking at us. and then he would just say a couple of words, but it was the same thing over and over. It wasn't like anything that made sense to me. But and then he disappeared. We never saw him again. It was the wildest thing.
Okay, so the Purple Church, according to the nice Google search, is said to be one of the most haunted places in Oklahoma, and it is said to be a gate to the underworld. So take whatever that means into consideration.
Dear God, I didn't know that. I never even thought about. I'm glad I didn't Google that. I would have left. I would have left scared. No, I take that back. I wouldn't even went out there.
Yeah,
but I gotta say, I mean, that was a weird day.
Yeah,
and I don't know what we saw. I don't know if that guy was real. I don't know, man. I don't know. It was the creepiest thing ever. I just don't. I never went back out there. I never went. I know the wife one time wanted to go out there and check it out, and I said no. I think she'd been out there with some buddies, but I never approached that because I was like, I just don't. There's a famous movie out there. It's got Don Knotts on it, which is Barney Favre,
Yeah.
And it was called The Ghost of Mr. Chicken, is what the movie's called. It's an old 60s movie. It's a great movie. And I used to love it growing up. But it's like he's just like this scared to death guy, and they wouldn't go in this haunted house. That's me. Like just shaking. I just don't do well with that stuff. I can't even watch scary movies. I mean, I got through Freddy, the bear one.
Oh, the Five Nights at Freddy's?
Yes, yeah. I finally got that one through. I got through that one. That one was
Still haven't seen it. No.
It's actually pretty good. I was really surprised. But my kids knew all the characters and everything. And I'm like, look at that. Look at that. I'm like, you're not even scared of this? And Chris Brady's looking at me like, this is crazy. Like, why are we letting the kids watch this? And they keep talking about it. I was like, well, I mean, they know the characters and stuff. It can't be that bad. But, yeah. But I guess you got to conquer your fears that way. But,
Well, and if you dig into the lore on there, it gets dark very quickly.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So,
yeah.
But they don't understand that level. They just see the characters.
No, they don't.
They know the game. And So.
Yeah. But I guess there's a backstory to the movie.
Oh, there is.
Oh, okay.
I'll tell you about it later.
Yeah. I kind of got the gist of some like creepiness with the littles and stuff. But I just was curious. Like someone was saying there was like it was almost like there's like a series about it or something, a show.
It was a video game originally.
Oh, really?
And so there was probably 4 or 5 different games that they came out with.
Wow.
And each one unlocked a little bit more of the story. So if you knew where to look and you like really dug into the game, you could find the lore of it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I definitely.
So it was pretty advanced in terms of like.
How long ago was that a game? Was that recent?
The last 10 years, yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Sorry, y'all. Salty Sarge is not really a gamer. I want to be, somehow, but because of my son and stuff, but I'm just not very, very good at it. I probably could be if I sat down and did it, but the problem is I'd probably just stick with it and I wouldn't stop.
Yeah.
I'd get addicted to it.
Yeah, knowing you, I mean, right now you're building haunted houses just on a whim because you want to. I'd hate to see what you do with something as unproductive as gaming.
Ooh.
You'll turn into me.
That's not a bad thing, though. You're a good guy.
No, I try to be.
Yeah, it's all good.
All right, do we got another story?
No, I think that pretty much sums it up, man. I mean, those are some stories that I come across on Halloween. The famous backdoor story came on a Halloween night, though.
The famous backdoor story.
Yeah, I mean, that really can't. I remember never forget that Little B television with the Halloween movie playing. But I never really come across any kind of like trick-or-treaters or really any the clown thing. Remember when the clown thing was a big deal?
Oh yeah,
we got a lot of calls of those.
Like the insane clown posse, or just
like
the regular clowns running around.
Yeah, like you get calls like there's a clown over here at my front door and he's swinging a knife or something, stuff like that.
People were just being idiots.
Yeah, and excuse me, we never really ran across any of those. There was a couple of them. But I've heard officers like, there was one guy one time that there was an eerie call and it was like a clown deal, and it said there's a bunch of clowns in the street, and he stops the street and he looks down there and he gets on the radio. He's like, hey, of course I ain't going down there. It's scary.
And what did headquarters say?
And of course they're like, you're a policeman? And then, of course, we're all teasing him on the radio. I was like, I don't blame you, dude. Like, I would go down there either.
I'm gonna give you crap for it, but
Yeah,
but I would be in the
too.
same place.
And we meet up for breakfast later, and he's like, guys, like, you really something on my neck stood up, like the hair on my neck. Like, I just wasn't about to go down there. Like,
I don't blame you. I don't blame you.
I feel like
at all.
I was going to get ambushed or something, or the Texas Chainsaw Massacre guy's going to come out and get me, you know. Oh, man, that was so funny when he said that on the radio. He goes, headquarters, I'm scared. Like, that's creepy. That's exactly what he said. And I might have said something like that a time or two where I'm like, hey, I'm not going in there. I'll tell you right now that if
that house is creepy.
I'm not doing it.
Little paintballer, SWAT team trainers.
Not doing it. I was just like, and they just kept giving me crap. Man, you're a cop, man. I was like, shut up. Like, I don't care. I'm not a Ghostbuster. I don't have a machine.
I've seen the same movies that you have. I know what happens if I go in that house.
Exactly. And the cop always gets killed first. In every single horror movie, the cop always gets killed. Except for the doctor in Halloween, where he would go after, Michael or whatever.
Yeah.
And I had a cousin that would, every time he heard the Michael Myers Halloween theme music, he just would nope. He would get so freaked out by it. So I'd play it on my PA and stuff when I go to his house or something. He's like, stop it. But he goes, I want to be like the bald doctor guy that can only take out Michael, But yeah.
So who's your favorite horror character, I guess?
Ooh, that's a good one. I would say, man, out of all of them, I would probably say Michael Myers. I would go with that one.
Michael Myers, that's a good one.
I don't know if you can count Beetlejuice. I think Beetlejuice is pretty good. But
yeah, I would count Beetlejuice, especially with the new movie coming out.
The new one was great.
Yeah,
it was
Good.
fantastic. Yeah, I highly recommend it. I thought it was better than the original one.
It's got a Salty Sarge approval.
Yeah, I would take time to go watch it. It's a good movie. It actually turned out really nice, and it has some of the original characters in it, which I thought was cool. I like it when they do that. Mm-hmm. When you bring back in characters, or you stay along the same line, and then you have a spot for the characters.
Yeah.
Like they did the Jumanji movies, where they had they did a little nostalgia deal for Robin Williams. I thought that was really great. When they do that kind of stuff, that's good in my book. So but yeah. So remember, get out there and vote.
Get out there and vote. Don't put it in boxes. They might get blown up.
Yeah, just get out there and vote though.
In person.
Just a small little note there. I don't get political on this show ever, but I will say your votes count when it comes to some of these bills being presented, and some of these people that are judges and the lawyers, and those votes do matter. The small government level matters. I mean, you got to get out there and vote.
Yeah. As
far as our state with the bigger picture, we matter, but we all know how that's going to go.
Yeah, Oklahoma is a pretty one-sided state. It's going to go, but the smaller elections, the different bills that are on the floor and ready to be voted on, just take some time. Get familiar with them and make an informed decision.
Right, and if you're standing at the poll and you're reading about it, just read about it. At least, there's a lot of legalese there that they try to confuse you, the regular citizen, but that's the only way you can make true change is with your local government. So I highly recommend you get out there and vote and make your mark, because that's one big freedom that I really, really respect, is we have that right to do that. So everybody. So
but no matter what you're voting, go vote.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, let's leave it at that. Yeah, sounds good.
Well, anyway, we would like to thank you for listening to this very special episode of the Salty Sarge, the Halloween edition. Thank you very much for that. You can find us on Facebook or anywhere else you find your favorite podcast. All right. Well, we will see you on the next one.
Yep. Sounds good. We'll see you.